Good evening, folks, and welcome back to another great module at Serious Automotive Training. My name's Terry Rooch, and I would like to encourage everyone to follow me on YouTube or LinkedIn for my modules regarding Pennsylvania motor vehicle safety inspection. It's critical today, even more than in the past, that the technician, the dealer, the vehicle owner stay current on the rules and regulations for inspecting a vehicle in Pennsylvania. The number one reason is because now the recertification process requires technicians to recertify online through a Pennsylvania portal every 5 years. So with this certification process, it's very important that the student is prepared before they take the exam. So as part of my training, I would like everyone to know that I am not part of PennDOT at all. My background's been teaching technicians, certifying technicians. So as far as PennDOT, I have no connection to it. I do contract teach, and I have prior teaching in a high school where I was a certification instructor for motor vehicle safety inspection mechanics all the way back to 1993. So let's start off today again with our definitions. Why are definitions important? Well, because if you're from Columbia County and you happen to sit through one of my classes in the past, you all remember General George Curry. Well, who was General George? Well, General George was the football coach of the legendary Berwick Bulldogs. General is one of our inspection definitions today that we're going to follow up with. So let's look at some of our definitions that we're going to use. Again, we're going to be following through on publication 45. This is the manual that the students are going to be using to pursue inspection, mechanic licensing, or for the recertification. So the first part of any learning, of course, is our definitions. We probably have another 2 days of definitions before we get into the meat and potatoes of the inspection criteria. So let us start at the top here. A real easy definition for a vehicle. Let's take a look here. If you've been down to Philly, like I have and taught at Mastbaum High School, take a look at the Trackless Trolley. This is the Trackless Trolley. If you look at the top of the bus here, this runs on tracks. What I'm trying to identify here is for the definition of a vehicle, it's pretty common sense. It's self-propelled, but it does not run on a track or rail. If we consider a rail, it's very simple. It's a train. They run on rails. If it runs on a track could be a number of things. It could be a monorail track. It could be an overhead track. My point is the Trackless Trolley buses run by SEPTA down in Philadelphia, they do get inspected. They're modified at the factory with the addition of a small diesel engine that recharges the internal batteries on the bus. And it also has the removal of the engine and transmission to store this electrodynamic propulsion system, also the batteries. So it's real important stuff here. Why is it important? Because the vehicle wasn't titled modified in Pennsylvania. It's still titled as a bus. It was modified at the factory. So these buses do operate with an overhead rail just like the light rail vehicles do in Philadelphia. So what's important to understand here is when this bus goes under a bridge, it comes off of the overhead wire. So at that time, it's now a bus. It's no longer fed off the overhead rail, so it runs off the batteries. So it is a bus, it does get inspected, and it's also a vehicle. So just a real easy definition I wanted to get out of the way. Let's go down here to the 3 types of inspection stations. Fleet, General, Commonwealth. Each of these stations is categorized by PennDOT for the certificate of appointment, the MV427 form. That certificate of appointment tells you, the general public, that you could get your vehicle inspected at a station. So let's start here with General Station. We're going to start off with General George Curry. So a general station is open to the general public to inspect all types of vehicles, if they're appointed to do that, which we'll get to in a second. A fleet station. A fleet station belongs to a fleet owner, and they have to have 25 vehicles in the fleet. So, for example, they're only inspecting their fleet of vehicles, okay? The last one is a Commonwealth station. A Commonwealth station would be like a PennDOT station or a state police service center where they're only inspecting Commonwealth vehicles. So for the definitions, make sure you know the difference between those three types. The one thing they do have in common, which is another definition here, is the inspection area. When we get into the next subchapter, we'll talk about inspection area, but that's the dimension of the shop. And what it comes down to is the size of the shop, the area, the length and the width, and the breakdown for that is if you have a trailer station or if you have a light aiming machine. So that's the difference for the dimension of your shop. So we'll talk more about that in other modules. Trailer station. A trailer station, let's take a step back. We talked about the 427 and being appointed as one of the three types. By the way, I haven't seen a station that has more than one. You can't, I'm sure if you were a general station in a Commonwealth, I don't know if you could have those at the same location. I think you would have to have a different 427. So 2 different doors into the same building maybe. So a trailer station is just one of type of the appointment stations. So you could have a station that's open to the general public that only does trailers. You could have a general station that only does motorcycles. You could have a general station that only does light car and truck. Okay, so 427 form, that's your certificate of appointment. It's one of the signs that has to be displayed inside your service station or your facility. Next two, let's talk about the real simple. These are, again, definitions out of publication 44. The secretary. Io sono secretary. So Leslie Richards, she's responsible for all the vehicles on the 40,000 miles in Pennsylvania. So when they talk about the secretary, she's the secretary to the governor of Pennsylvania. Next, we talk about the Bureau. This is a definition that also comes up a lot. It's the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Real important phone number, 717-787-2895. Call them all the time. Bug them with all your inspection questions. They'll get back to you. It's easier to email them. Real important here. Next thing I want to talk about within our little 15-minute time slot is a fact sheet for dual registration. I'm down here on the Maryland border and I seen a Trackless truck a few months ago that had 2 registration plates. It had a Maryland plate and a PA plate side by side. So if you do have 2 plates, it's bigger vehicles that work in either state that are on the border. There is a fact sheet. The fact sheet has a date of July 17. The fact sheet from PennDOT here is for dual registration. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but what I'm going to tell you is, yes, it would still be required a PA safety inspection when it's driven in Pennsylvania. Okay, so there is a dual registration, so don't get scared if somebody brings you a truck and it has 2 plates on it. Just make sure we get in, when we get into proof of ownership and the insurance, proof of financial responsibility, then we'll talk about the requirements for the insurance for inspecting that vehicle. Okay, let's talk about one more thing here. One other thing here I wanted to talk about, I'll point out to you before we run out of time on our YouTube series here. We've previously discussed the different categories, or codes, excuse me one second, that we use for inspecting vehicles. For example, this is code 8. These were older emissions, so the class code for the types of vehicles that the mechanic could inspect are listed on your mechanic card. If you, let's create an example here. You have your car license. Now all of a sudden, you got a motorcycle. You say, you know what, I'm going to get my motorcycle license. So about a year after you get your inspection license for cars, you got your motorcycle license. And you say, you know what, I wish I would have taken my motorcycle license before I took the state inspection course, and now I could have got my inspection license for not only the car and light truck, but I could have also got it for motorcycles. I could have got the code 2, class 2. Well, here it is in black and white. This bulletin goes all the way back to July of 1990. The subject is adding categories. So here it is in black and white. If it's under 30 months that you want to add, so you got your motorcycle license within 30 months of getting your initial state inspection mechanic license, your card, you could go back to the original school and add that category for motorcycles by taking the 20-question written test and performing a tactile test on a motorcycle without taking the entire class. So you save some money. Why is that important? Because you could do the same thing with a CDL. You could do it with a car if you only have your motorcycle license and you want to get a car inspection license. So it's going to save you money. You don't have to go through the whole class again. So the magic number is 30 months. Anything over that, you got to sit through a whole class again. And hopefully it's with me. They're fun. So let's regroup here. We talked about a vehicle. Anything that's not operated on a track or a rail. I showed you I want to give you the right name here. I show you the picture of the New Flyer. It's the New Flyer Trackless Trolley. Philadelphia has about 40 of those right now. Again, they get inspected. We talked about the 3 types of stations in Pennsylvania. Fleet, General, Commonwealth. Depending on what type of vehicle you take. They get it signed on your 427 form. So that's how you'll know that the station is approved to do those. And then for each type of vehicle that you want to inspect those stations. I told you who the secretary is. I told you about the bureau, the phone number. We talked about dual registration. And again, the form of the day was the gold seal. This form has a big gold seal on it. When you go in to get your inspection and pay the bill, it's hanging on the wall. That's the 427 form, motor vehicle. Real important stuff. Hope this helps you with your test. If you have questions for me, if you need more information, more bulletin numbers, use PennDOT has an excellent site now for business partners for DOT and motor vehicle forms. Any questions for me, reach out to me at SeriousAutoTraining@yahoo.com, at live.com. You could contact me through LinkedIn, or you could give me a reply on YouTube. Again, buonasera, everyone. Have a good night and enjoy.